Hey everyone, I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and today I'm taking a closer look at and installing the Street Plus coilover kit fitting all solid rear axle 94 to 04 Mustangs. Now you guys should be checking out the twin tube Street Plus kit for your SN95 if you're looking to go with one of the lowest coilovers available for the least amount of money possible. Now these coils will feature a 50mm front strut along with a 44mm rear strut, along with the ability to lower your car anywhere from 1.5 inches all the way down to 4 inches, essentially putting your car on the ground. Now you can also look forward to things like the included camber plates here, plated bodies, and the adjustable wrenches and collars, all for right around that low $700 price point. So big features here, guys, will essentially boil down to being able to go low, but go low on a budget. That's because the Street Plus options, according to some of our customers at least, do offer enough adjustment to absolutely slam the car to the ground, and again, do so very affordably. But just because these options can go low doesn't mean interested SN95 owners have to. For instance, you can go anywhere from just slightly lower than stock, but again, all the way down to 4 inches of drop, and really anywhere in between. And that, of course, is the beauty of a coilover and the adjustable collar design. As always, guys, not only does that lower ride height just look a lot better, a lot cooler, but by lowering your car's center of gravity, you're also going to experience much better handling, and in some cases, ride quality as well, just depending on what you're working with from the get-go. For instance, if you're starting with blown factory dampers and 100,000-mile stuff, well then adding something like this will absolutely improve your experience behind the wheel. Now, one thing to note, guys, is that the Street Plus options do not include any adjustable damping, so owners will just kind of need to keep that in mind here. Basically, what you see is what you get in regards to ride firmness, but if you are simply just to go low, again, these are definitely going to be worth checking out. Now moving into construction, and the Street Plus options will again combine a 50mm steel shock body with a twin tube design up front, along with a slightly smaller 44mm twin tube damper here for the rear. Now the dampers do feature a zinc plated body to help prevent any corrosion, along with powder coated mounts in addition to anodized lock rings. And that's just there again to keep things moving freely over the years, prevent that corrosion that would otherwise gum up your adjustability and your lock rings. Now the Street Plus options do get backed by a 2-year limited warranty, and again will only fit the GT and V6 SN95 or New Edge Mustangs. As far as pricing is concerned, this is going to land right around that low $900 price point. Again, making these one of the most affordable ride height adjustable coilovers on the site, coming in even a bit lower than the more basic SR Performance Sport options. Now, if you did want to move into something that will give you the height adjustability along with some dampening adjustment as well, well then ultimately you will need to spend just a little bit more money to get you into something that will offer that damping adjustment, such as the SR Performance V2s, for instance, or even something from Mono SS. Last but not least, let's talk about the install. And the site's gonna go soft, 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter here, taking you around 6 hours, I would say at absolute most, to complete from start to finish. And that is if you're taking your time. Now, to give you a better idea of just how this one might go down on your SN or New Edge at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
For this install, you will need various impacts, various size ratchets, an extension, 12, 13, 15, 17, 18, 21, and 24mm sockets, 18mm wrench, a caliper hanger tool, a tape measure, and also not shown here is a floor jack and a jack and jack stands or some pole jacks. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a coilover kit on our Mustang, but before we get started, we're going to send you to watch a quick video on how to remove your factory suspension, and we'll see you when you get back.
All right, so we're going to start off in the back, and we need access to our trunk. And we're going to remove a few trim pieces in here, the sides, to get access to the top of our shock. But right here on this trim piece, there are 4 push pins. I have a push pin removal tool. If you don't have one, you can use a flathead screwdriver. So let's remove all 4 of these. Again, they're push pins like a Christmas tree type. There's 2 on each side of that hinge plate. Just lift that piece out of the way. And then on the back side of your trunk, you're gonna see 2 plastic screws. You can use a flathead. There is a little slot right there for it. We're just gonna spin it off with our finger. And these are just like a plastic nut type deal. Just like that. All right, now with those 2 nuts and 4 push pins removed, we are going to get this panel out of the way, set it off to the side. So we're also going to remove the 2 side panels that cover our shock towers in the rear. These will just slide out of the way, just off to the side there. And that will expose the nut for the top of our shock. Do that on both sides. All right, so I have my air ratchet right here. It's a 3/8 drive with a deep 15mm socket. We are going to loosen up and remove the nuts on top of our shock. So do that on both sides. And now when we lift the vehicle in the air, those shocks will drop out. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and get our wheels and tires off. All right, so one of our first steps in the uninstall process is to get this quad shock out of the way. So if you have a GT or a convertible version, you will have this quad shock here. I have an 18mm socket. I'm just gonna remove that nut and take the quad shock off of that stud. Just pull it like that and let it sit. Do that on both sides. All right, so since we had to remove the nut on the top of our shock, what we're after now is the bolt here. It's a 15mm head and an 18mm nut on the back side. So I'm just gonna pull the bolt and then get the shock out of the way. Do that on both sides as well. All right, so now we're going to remove our rear sway bar. First, we're gonna get this wheel speed sensor out of the way and off of this bracket here. And then we're going to use a 14mm socket to remove the 2 bolts on this side and the 2 bolts on the other. And then the sway bar will just slide out of the way. So as you see on this bolt right here, you're gonna have a parking brake bracket. You're just gonna slide that out of the way. We'll reattach that when we put our new sway bar in. All right, now I'm gonna get the last 2 bolts out and slide this sway bar out of the way. All right, so you can see that I have 2 pole jacks supporting the entire weight of my rear end. I'm going to get the last bolt that holds in my sway bar out of the way. And you can see these handles are facing straight back. So hopefully this sway bar will land on there. There is a little bit of weight, so if you have a friend to help you out, I highly recommend you grab them. But I'm gonna give 1 hand to the bar and 1 hand to my impact and get this bolt out of here. There's that side. And I'm gonna pull this bolt. And there is our factory sway bar out of the way. So minus your upper and lower control arms, those are the only things that are attaching your rear axle to the body of the Mustang. So now I'm going to lower my jack stands evenly, both at the same time. And then I'm going to lower one side a little lower than the other so I can angle it and get that spring out of there. So as you can see, there's no tension on that, but there is on this. And if I pull on this side of the axle, I can get that spring out. So I'm gonna lower it down even more to get some more travel out of it. Just like that. And now I can get my spring out of there. All right, so moving on to the front, you can see that I have both my wheels and tires off. I've already disconnected the sway bar end link on the driver's side. So I'm gonna do the same on the passenger side here. It's a 15mm nut. So let's get this nut off and this bushing as well. If that doesn't come off, that's fine. Usually hit it up. Hit the sway bar up and both those bushings will pop. All right, so now we're gonna remove our sway bar end links. Again, I have that 15mm deep socket on my air ratchet, and then I have a 10mm wrench on the shaft of the end link just to keep it from spinning. Just gonna start this nut. And pull that end link out of here. Remove that on both sides. All right, so what we're gonna do now is remove our caliper and rotor. First, starting with our caliper, we're gonna take the whole unit off, so we're after these two 15mm bolts on the back side. Let's get a breaker bar on here first. Make sure that we can loosen them up. All right, well, let me get my air ratchet in here. And just to get ready, I have my caliper hanger right there. I'll keep that where my body bolt is. Where is this guy? All right, and then we're gonna hang this caliper out of the way. All right, so next up we're gonna remove our rotor. If you haven't replaced your brakes or removed your rotor yet, you may still have these factory locking washers. R99 only has about 40,000 miles on it, so these are the original brakes. And we're going to remove these little metal washers, like the lock tabs that hold your rotor onto the hub itself. So you don't need to replace these or put them back on. I'll show you a trick when I reinstall the wheel, how to get your rotor to stay in place. But I just bend it so it's a missed shape and then just spin it off. And now we can pull our rotor off. All right, so what we're gonna do next is remove our wheel speed sensor or our ABS sensor right here. And we need an E8 E-bit. So it's like an inverted Torx. And I have this on my 1/4-inch drive, so I'm just going to loosen this up and remove it. Because we gotta separate our spindle from our strut here in a second. And we don't wanna cause any unnecessary stress on this wheel speed sensor because they aren't cheap. All right, so that's out. All right, so let's remove that wheel speed sensor. I'm just gonna push it in the front and pull it in the back as well at the same time, as this has not been removed since new. There's a lot of road grime on that. All right, so that's out. Then I'm gonna take my push pin removal tool and get this loom out of the way. And then lift up on these. Just get that out of the way. Again, this is a magnet, so you can just stick it to a body part and it'll be out of the way. All right, so our next step is to remove this 124mm nut holding this little brake line bracket in place. So just spin this off. We are going to attach that again later. And then we're going to lower the vehicle down to the ground so we can get a jack onto the lower control arm. And then we're going to remove the two nut and bolts holding our strut assembly to our spindle. And what that will do is release the tension on that pocket spring so we can lower the jack, get that spring out, and get our strut up all at the same time. All right, so as you can see, I have a jack directly under my lower control arm. The vehicle is pretty low to the ground, and what I'm going to do is now jack up on my jack and take up some of that tension on my pocket spring. Now I can remove the nut and bolt on my lower strut assembly. I'm gonna need a 21mm socket for my bolt head on this side, and then a 24mm socket for my nut side. Let's go ahead and get our tools in place here. All right, there's the first nut. And let's get the second one out of here. Second nut, I'm gonna try to pull one of these bolts out. All right, there's one, there's two. Then I'm going to let my spindle just hang out here. And you see my strut is free now. Now I can lower my jack slowly and have this pocket spring come out. But first I'm going to remove my strut so I have some more room to play with. All right, now we're going to remove our strut. We'll start off by removing these nuts. These are 15 millimeter. Now I'm going to hold on to my strut, take out this last bolt. Make sure you grab that and remove your strut. All right, so now I'm going to release the tension on my jack and watch what happens to my pocket spring. It's gonna wanna fall out of there. So I may need a pry bar to help get it out. That's what we're gonna do now. All right, so there may still be a little bit of tension on this spring, so just be very careful and wary of that. And there it goes.
All right guys, welcome back. Now that we have our factory suspension off, now you'll notice we have the rear off. We're gonna start there. We're gonna set a base height for our ride height. Now this isn't the exact specifications. This is simply to get us at a nice baseline to where we're not too low. When we lower the car, we're gonna put it on the rear wheels or anything like that. This is simply to get you at a nice start. So we've got our new shock lined up with our factory one and our original spring and our new spring, along with our new spring seat, because this is going to dictate your ride height. So that's going to sit in that seat. And we're just going to get a basic measurement. So we're going to measure from the top of our shock mount as well as the bottom of our spring seat to the bottom of our factory spring. Again, this is just to give you a good reference on where your car is going to sit once you lower it down at this baseline. So we've got a tape measure. We'll come to our shock tube. Now again, this isn't exacting, but we're gonna set this at about 2.5 inches lower than what factory is, just as a general starting point. We've got these lined up exactly. This one, the bottoms are lined up. The spring, the top is lined up. This one needs to come up a good bit. Now you'll notice this spring is much shorter than the factory one. So it's already gonna be shorter, plus with a different spring rate, it's definitely gonna drop it more. But you're gonna twist your seat up. Again, these are adjustable on the car. This is simply a baseline. So we're roughly at 2.5 inches. So that's a good start. So we'll get our other side set to the same height, and then we'll install everything, and then we can recheck once we lower the vehicle down. So now that we have our baseline set, we're gonna start out by installing our new spring and seat. So our smaller end of our coil is gonna sit on our adjustable seat, and we're gonna get this up into the factory perch. Now we're also gonna reuse that top factory bushing from our original spring, so we'll grab that, get it in place, and get our spring on. So we've got our factory bushing in our spring. We'll get this up into place. I'm gonna sit this on our factory seat at the bottom. And we'll hold this in place. We'll use our pole jack to raise this up into position. Now we've got this to a point where it can't get out. Now we can get our shock installed. So we're gonna send this up behind our quad shock. We're gonna line it up with the top mounting hole as best we can for now. Get that into our factory shock mount and reuse our factory bolt. Get this in place. We'll reinstall our factory 18mm nut. Now we're not going to fully tighten this just yet. Next we can get our quad shock back into place. We'll line it back up with the mounting stud. Sometimes that inner sleeve wants to come out. But you should be able to push that in, at least enough to get your bolt or your nut started. Get that nut back on. And tighten that. That's going to push that sleeve back into position. Then we can grab our 18mm socket and tighten this back down. Now once you've reached this point for this side, you can do the same thing on the other side. So now we've got our sway bar in place. Now we did go ahead and get one bolt started on the other side. It's going to make it a lot easier, especially if you're working with yourself, but you can use those pole jack handles to kind of hold it in position and pivot it up like so. We'll get our first bolt started. And once you get that first one started, you can grab it, pivot it up. Now you don't want to forget your brake bracket. Get that in position. Get that one started as well. Then you want to get the other bolt on the other side started so they're all four in place, and then we'll come back and tighten those down. Now we can tighten our hardware down with our 13mm socket extension. Once you have it tightened down, you can reinstall your brake grommet to the bracket. And do the same thing for the other side. So now for the next part, to install the upper part of our shock, we've obviously lowered the car down. Now that will create some drop in your rear differential and might have your springs come out of their location. That's okay. We've got our floor jack underneath our rear axle, and we're gonna use that to bring it back up enough to where we can get in the trunk and get our top mounting nut on for our shock. So we've got an extra set of hands that's gonna work our jack. We'll keep our spring lined up, as well as locate our top shock mount through the body. All right. Make sure your spring is still seated. Then we'll go into the trunk and install our top mounting nut. So now we're back in the trunk, and we're going to install our bushing and our top washer onto our shock mount. Once that's on, we can install our mounting nut. Get that started. Now we're going to use a 17mm socket on our impact to tighten this down. Now once you have this started, you may need to lower your jack a little bit to apply some pressure to your shock mount so you can tighten it. Now once you have that shock fully tightened up, you can repeat the same process for the other side. Then we'll install our panel and trim inside of our trunk and go back underneath and tighten down our bottom shock bolts. Get our locators back on. Now one thing to note, our 99 Mustang here has seen some better days as far as being torn apart and put it back together a bunch of times. So we don't have all of our factory clips and nuts and everything for the trunk panels. So we're gonna go ahead and get it back together, but at home you should reinstall all of your factory hardware with your trunk panels. Now a lot of our retainers for our panels have been lost to time, so we've got this back, and you definitely want to reinstall your factory hardware at home and repeat this process for the other side. Then we'll get our center trim panel back in place. Now we'll get our center trim back into place. Ours is a little bit broken. Line up all of your locators. Once you have that in place, you can grab your beauty cover for your trunk latch. Get that back into position. Now we'll tighten up our bottom shock bolt with our 15mm socket, an 18mm wrench. And you want to do the same thing for the other side. And once you have this one tightened down, you can do the same thing for the other side. Alrighty guys, so now we're going to move on to our front suspension, and just like we're at the rear, we're going to set a baseline for our front struts. Coilover setup. Now the bottom adjustment here at your base for your mounting point is going to be your ride height adjustment. The upper adjustment here is going to be for your spring preload. Now setting a softer or stiffer preload is going to dictate a small amount of ride height, whether it settles more or is more stiff, but your main ride height adjustment is going to be this bottom perch adjuster. Now, just like with the rear, we're going to set it at a 2.5-inch base. So what you're going to need to do is loosen up your retainer nut. You want to spin that back so you have enough room for adjustment. Then you're going to spin your base up or down depending on the ride height you wish to achieve. Now for this, we're going to go pretty much flush with the base of our strut, like so. Then we're just going to hand tighten and lock this into place. Again, this is just going to give us a baseline, and this being flush is going to be about a 2.5-inch drop, just like we had with the rear. Again, whichever ride height you wish to achieve is what adjustments you're going to make. We'll show you how to make the more finer adjustments once it's on the vehicle. This is, again, is just a baseline. So now we have our right side coilover setup. That's going to be for our passenger side. We're going to get this through and get the upper mounts loosely installed. So we've got our provided flange nuts. Get this through our wheel well, get it into its mounting point, get these loosely in place. Now we'll get our provided flange nuts in place. All right. So now we've got our floor jack underneath our lower control arm, and we're going to bring our knuckle and lower control arm up to meet our new coilover setup. Now one thing you want to make sure is that your sway bar end link is lined up with your sway bar. Before doing this, just makes it a lot easier to bring it up into position. Go ahead and bring this up. We'll get it close, and then we'll get our coilover setup mounted to our knuckle. So now we'll get our knuckle lined up with our coilover mounts. Now you may need to move this around a bit to get it to fall into place. Once that goes in, we're going to reuse our factory hardware. Get this back into position. Once we have that in place, we will loosely reinstall our nuts. So now we can come back up top and tighten down our mounting nuts. Now one thing to note is this does have camber adjustment as well. You can access this through the factory opening. Now if you want to get more adjustment out of it or more accessibility, you could take this top mounting plate off and replace it with another one, or just leave it open, but don't recommend that. So we'll tighten this down with our 15 mil socket. So now we can tighten up our two bottom strut mounting bolts with our 21 millimeter socket and a 24 millimeter socket on our ratchet. And you can use a 24 mil wrench if you have one. So now once you have your strut setup and your rear setup on your vehicle, the adjustments for both is going to be the same in principle, and your kit does come with your spanners. So once you have your bottom mounting point in position for your actual ride height, you're going to want to grab your larger spanner and fully tighten this down. So that just hooks in, and you want to make sure that's nice and tight. Now for spring preload adjustment, you're going to want to grab your smaller spanner and loosen up the bottom nut. Then you would bring that clear. Then you would grab your larger spanner for this one as well. And going up would increase your preload. Going down would reduce your preload. Now, again, this is going to be specific to your application, whether you want a stiffer, softer ride, whatever you're tuning for your suspension. Then once you have it adjusted, you bring your lock nut back up. And fully tighten this back down while holding your larger spanner. So again, you want to grab your larger spanner for your adjustment nut, and your retainer nut is going to be the smaller one, and you want to go opposing to tighten that down and lock that into place. Now we can reinstall our brakes. We'll get our rotor back in position. And we'll reinstall our caliper bracket. Now if you're having a little bit of an issue with your rotor not sitting straight, you can always grab a lug nut, spin that on. That'll keep it a little bit straighter. We'll reuse our factory hardware to get this mounted. So we'll get our caliper bracket in place. Get our factory hardware back in. We'll use our 15 mil socket to get these tightened back down. Next, we can reinstall our pads. So we have those on. Grab our caliper. Put that back into place. Reinstall our bolts. And we'll tighten these back down with our 12 mil socket. Now we can reinstall our ABS line bracket. Get that lined up. Reinstall our 24mm nut. Tighten that back down with our 24mm socket. So now once you've got everything installed up to this point on this side, you want to repeat the same process for the other side. And the last thing you want to do is actually connect your sway bar end links so that your other side has the range of motion it needs. So we'll go ahead and do ours now. So we've got our bushing and our nut. We'll get our bushing in place, followed by our nut. Then we'll tighten that back down with our 15mm socket. Now once you've got this side tightened down, you can do the same thing for the other side. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our Street Plus coilover kit for your 94 to 04 Mustang GT and V6. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.